Most of us find it pretty difficult to transition from an entrepreneurial mindset to an investor mindset.
Yeah.
How did it happen for you?
Yeah, I learned some hard lessons with that transition. In my journey, when I started investing, one of the things that you notice is that, when entrepreneurs want your money, they tend to agree with you on a lot of things. And so I would look at a company and I would evaluate the product, evaluate the technology, and develop an opinion on, what I thought it could be, and, talk with the CEO about these ideas. And you tend to get a lot of yeses during that conversation. But what I really learned is that, there is the things that can make you a very good entrepreneur or a reasonably good entrepreneur can make you a terrible investor. Because if you bring with you optimism or a vision that you think could be, and at the end of the day, the CEO doesn't either agree with you or they can't execute on what it is that you're both discussing, that ends up not working out. So I learned some hard lessons there, and I also learned that there is the transition from being an entrepreneur to being a board member is something you have to be very, very mindful of in that context.
Can we talk about this in more detail? Why is that difficult?
When you are very operationally, experienced, as I was, you tend to, in a lot of cases, go right to how you would fix the problem if you were involved and, if you were operationally involved. And you don't have that same, you're sitting on a different branch looking at a situation from a different point of view when you are a board member. Now, in some cases, you bring a perspective, expertise that the CEO, can't see, and you're able to kind of add value that way by, having him or her think about things a little bit differently. And that's really the hope, in terms of one of the ways you're adding value. But, initially my head always would go to what I would do if I were in that situation. And the reality is I'm not in that situation. I'm not running the company. So the most productive thing I can do is translate that into more of a strategic question and more of a strategic discussion about what the options are, and think about things from a higher level. With also for the full recognition that, I don't have the same familiarity with all of the day-to-day details of how the business is being run. I'm looking at it at a much higher level. So it took me a while. I would say I probably had about a 2-year learning curve of being very, very conscious of that. And also, asking other people who I was sitting on boards with for feedback on that regard, in terms of how it was that I was presenting myself, how it was that I was adding value, the kinds of things that I was raising, the way that I was having conversations. And I learned a lot in those 2 years about how to be a better board member and advisor, and the difference between that and being the entrepreneur.
Many people find sitting on boards quite boring after an entrepreneurial journey, because there is not as much control or a chance to channel our creativity into our business. Did you feel that?
I've enjoyed it. I think that some have been more interesting some roles have been more interesting than others, obviously, as is always the case. But I really like the variety of thinking about something different every day. Every day for me is different, and I really like that variety. I also I personally operate best in cases where I have one foot in something that I don't know anything about, and one foot in something that I'm, expertise, and I'm really leveraging from my experience. Okay. And so a lot of these board roles are cases where I'm learning a lot about a new business that I know nothing about. And so no, I don't find that boring at all. I find the variety to be really stimulating, and it really leads me to, brand new areas of learning that in a sort of a first-hand way that I would otherwise never have an opportunity to understand. So I enjoy it, but it's a very personal thing.
It certainly is. And I found that understanding this about ourselves is extremely important when we're at this moment when we're thinking, okay, what do I do now? I have all the freedom. I can do all these different things, and committing to something that is not natural for us is quite dangerous. We waste a lot of time, sometimes money as well, and energy. But it sounds like for you it was a good choice, which for me is fascinating, because most people I talk to give up on sitting on boards out of boredom very quickly. But it's great that you found your something that stimulates you for a long time now.